Hey team, hopefully you're doing great. Now for today's tutorial, you're really gonna love this. Okay, if you don't, then I'm not gonna take it personal, but you should love this because it's a way for us to track the intensity level of each and every session, whether that's on the field, that's at the gym, or wherever. All right, so what is RPE? Is the rate of perceived exertion. Okay, that is a simple 1 to 10 scale to measure how hard a session felt. Okay, so why does it matter? Because it helps you avoid the overtraining and the burnout. It ensures the training that you're training at the right intensity and tracks progress across. Well, we're going to do it for 90 days. You can track progress for however long you want. But this is what I use as well. Okay, with my pro athletes at individual level or at a team level. All right, so this is how we monitor the training load daily, okay, and weekly. So let's move to step 2, how to use the tracker. So after each training session or match, okay, you're gonna write down, you can write down the dates, you can write down the session type, whether that's at the training grounds, a gym, a match, or a recovery session. But this is the most important things I want you to track: the length of the session in minutes, or if it was an hour, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, whatever that is, and the RPE. So subjectively, how did you feel? Okay. 10 being the most intense and 1 being, just very easy, or 0. I didn't train at all. Okay. So, all right. This is what you got to do next. You got to multiply RPE times the time in minutes. Okay. And that will be the session load. And I'll explain that a little bit more. Well, you're like, Heber, coach, it's math. Yes, you got to do the math. But there's also a very simple way that I've created for you that you'll see in a little bit. Like I said, you're going to love this because I got several different options just for, whatever fits you need. Okay, so an example, 60-minute training at an RPE of 7, that will equal 420 load units. All right, bear with me a little bit, okay? It'll make sense in a little bit. Just trust me. It's not very difficult. Okay, you should be able to set this up very quick. All right, so weekly review. You're going to add up all your session loads for the week, or actually, we do it for 10 days, as a matter of fact, and that's fine with me. So we measure it in blocks of 10 days. Every 10 days, we add them up and see where we're at. So every 10 days, you're gonna increase the load gradually, no more than 10 or 15%. Okay, and you'll see it in a little bit. Okay, and or we decrease it if you feel fatigue, soreness, or if your performance drop. Okay, it happens, and this is a way for us to just monitor. Sometimes we don't realize, or we don't know, why we're feeling the way we're feeling. Sometimes we feel great. That's good. All right, that means we had a good gradual progression of the load. And sometimes just things get out of control. All right, so when that happens, you just monitor the load, adjust the time, adjust the intensity of the training session. But we'll help you with that as well. All right, so step 4, 90-day view. So over 12 weeks, you'll clearly see if your training is balanced, when your performance peaks, or where recovery dips happen. Okay, so this is the exact method that we use to plan season training loads at an elite level. Okay, why does it matter? Because football isn't just about showing up to train. Okay, it's about managing your body like a pro. You're not a machine, remember that. Okay, tracking RPE keeps you consistent, safe, and always improving. All right, so here it is. Let me show you. So you can download this sheet, okay, or not. I'll explain. All right, you can put the date up here. Now, it just looks nice with the black background, but you can download this if you want to, but I mean, you can download just a nice sheet with a white background so you can write on it and this and that. All right, so you're going to put the date on when you start day 1, all right? So it just gives you an explanation of what I just did right now. So this is day 1. So you write the number here. Okay, this is the simple version, and I'm going to give you the advanced version. You can pick and choose whatever you want. Okay, simple version is just, all right, so how was the training session today? So today was a 5. Okay, perfect. All right, day 2, it was a 4. day 3, now 9, so on and so forth. Okay, so you can see how there's some high days and some low days, and this is exactly why it's very important to monitor this. I'll explain. All right, so take a look at this from days 13 through 16th. Something happened here. Okay, so the intensity was so high, according to you, that's your perception, for 4 consecutive days. Now, you have to watch out for these types of patterns. Okay, the intensity is too high in many consecutive days. This is a lot of days, okay, working at a really high level. You're going to eventually break down if you don't break down right then and there. All right, so it's just very important for you to monitor this, because we don't want to keep ourselves, okay, up here in intensity for a very long period of time, okay, because you're going to be putting yourself at risk. Okay, so yes, you might have 2 days in a row per se, and then you got to drop things down, okay, very considerably. So you give your body a chance to recover from the beating of these 2 sessions per se. Okay, so this is a good way for us to track where we're at if we get a sudden spike of an intensity that we don't want. Okay, so this is just a basic version. You can get this RP 90-day tracker. And here's the more advanced version. I'll explain. All right, so this is block 1, like I mentioned. What you do is this, you're gonna write down the perception from scale 1 to 10. So, if it's a 2, it's a 2. And the time of the training session or the match, okay? So the match, what I mean by that is maybe the match lasted for 90 minutes or more or less, whatever, but you only played 65 minutes. That's fine. All right. So the total times, the total minutes played or the training session. So you're going to multiply these 2 numbers. You're going to get a number out here, and you're going to keep adding them up, okay, all the way until you get the total. So this is your arbitrary units, 2,990. Okay, this is just a hypothetical example. And then block 2, okay, you're going to do the same thing. And then eventually we'll get to a point, and I have the setup instructions here, okay, for that, where you calculate, okay, the difference between this week and past week. And this is how we know, for example, if we're in between those parameters. Like I said, you don't want to go too high. This is how you interpret them. From 0 to 15%, that is. So for example, okay, last week I had a certain amount of arbitrary units. And this week, okay, maybe my units were a little bit higher. They were in between 0 to 15% as compared to last week. And that's fine. Okay, we're within range of, say, progressive overload. Now, if it's between 15 to 20%, you're in the caution zone, all right, yellow zone. And if you're way above 20% or more, you're in a high injury risk. There's a risk of overload. Now, does it mean you're going to get injured or anything like that? No, not necessarily, but you just got to make sure you monitor that. If there's a negative change, so let's say, for example, that this week my load intentionally was below last week's load, that's fine. You might have dropped, okay, your load considerably because you could be tapering, or you're preparing, you're deloading to get to a higher peak, okay? Or it could mean that you're undertraining, okay? What does that mean as well? So you can risk an injury by going too high on your units, okay? Or vice versa. You can risk an injury as well because of detraining or undertraining, because of just going way too far below what you are, okay, used to doing. You see what I'm saying? Okay, like I said, if you intentionally taper down, that's fine. Okay, we know that you taper down, that you decrease the intensity, you decrease the volume because you're prepping. Okay, you want to get fresh to maybe you got a tournament or whatnot. Okay, but if not, you got to just pay attention to those numbers. Okay, if it wasn't intentional, okay, you might be detraining, okay, and that's not good as well. All right, here's a few examples. You're going to see that. I'm not just going to go over all those, but this is how you actually monitor your training process throughout the days. And then, like I promised, here's another advanced version. It's the it's the easier version as far as putting in the numbers if you want to do it digitally and not analog like this. Okay, this is you print it out and you start filling in those numbers. Okay, that's all you do. But this version, okay, you can obviously grab this link and do a copy of that. All right, so I got an example right here. Let me show you. All right, so this is session 1. Okay, so I started on whatever date, and you can pick and choose. So for example, 5, that was my RP for today, and the total session minutes, it was 70 minutes, okay? And this will automatically do everything for you. Okay, it's already got the formulas in there, so it multiplies 5 times 70, and then by the end of the 10th block, it just adds them up right here. Those were my total arbitrary units for 10 sessions. And then you keep doing the same thing. But, okay, on the second block, obviously we're going to be comparing this training block to that training block, and it'll give us a percentage. In this case, as you can see, I went a little bit higher this week, okay, not too much. Okay, last week it was 3,875, this week 3,890. Perfect. Okay, we're within range. Could I have picked up the intensity and or volume? Yes. Okay, but we're in between 0.4% as far as percentage change versus the previous block. Okay, and here's a little guide on how you can interpret that. All right, so if we would have gotten too far out, so let's say, for example, I'm just going to exaggerate right here. So let's say I had an intensity of 9. Okay, more than likely this was a match, but let's say it was like 300 minutes. I'm just going to blow this thing up. All right, so that is 49.2%, too far out of this. And there could be a potential for overload or overtraining and a high injury risk. This is for you to just kind of note that. Okay, so this is the RPE 90-day tracker. Let me know how that works. Let me know which one you're going to be using. This one, you can actually click on that link and it'll take you directly to just the instructions that you saw as well. And yeah, okay, let me know. And also, please share it with somebody else that you think could make a great use of this resource. Take care.